Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Olamide Olauba. I'm your grad school advisor. If you are new to this channel, Grad School Advisor provide grad school sustainability advice, fully funded graduate admission tips, and postdoctoral career guidance. If you want to follow more on these tips, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I release new video. And today on this episode, we'll be starting the grad school sustainability advice, and the maiden edition is with Mrs. Olorunfemi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Alaba.
So today we'll be talking about how to choose grad school advisor and tips, criteria, and sharing experiences regarding how to choose a befitting lab that suits interest. Thank you once again, Mrs. Folashade, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Alaba.
So the first thing is just tell us a bit about yourself. Let us know where it all started from and what you are currently doing.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today to share. My name is Folashade Gloria Olorunfemi, and where I started from, I don't even know where to start because it took a long journey. So I started from a young lady wanting to read medicine. So I went to National Diploma, Federal Polytechnic of Far. So from there, I got a direct entry into Laduke Akintola University, where I read biochemistry. And when I was done with that, we went for service. During that period, I took postgraduate diploma in education. Then I finished the service year and moved to University of Lagos, which is University of First Choice and Nation Pride. And after that, I moved to the US for my PhD degree program in University of Illinois, Chicago. I'm currently a PhD student in biological sciences. And basically, my research is around understanding lipid trafficking and how their dysregulation leads to different metabolic syndromes, such as diabetes and lipotoxicity, obesity, and the likes.
Wow, that is an interesting journey. So if we are taking your current program out of it and we are considering your degree and diploma as one, I would be right to say you've had 4 of those so far, like having
Right.
national diploma, a baccalaureate degree, and a PGD postgraduate diploma, and a master's degree. Wow, that's a lot. We are getting right into it. We are discussing how important it is to follow interest and again choose a good advisor. And this is a question of compatibility. It's not that we have people that will intentionally not support your progress in grad school, but it is important to be compatible with your advisor. So the first thing I will be asking you, Mrs. Olorunfemi, as a grad student who got into Chicago University and you have to join a lab, how difficult was this for you?
Well, I would say for me, it was difficult and not difficult at the time. So a tradition in my university was that no matter who you have reached out to prior to getting admission, before you join the lab, essentially you have to rotate 5 labs. So the first task was you were to go 5 labs. Yes. So you were to go into.
Sorry to cut in. That is a stereotype.
Yeah, that's the stereotype, right? So you were to go. There are so many labs in the department. If I'm not wrong, in my department we have over 20 labs. So you're supposed to get their names. The first thing I had to do was to get their names, then do some lookup, check their expertise. Then, of course, when you're coming to grad school, you have a problem that when they wake you from the sleep, you are motivated about it. If your research is not in that line, grad school is stressful already for you to be doing what you are not even interested about. So we had to go through maybe more than 10 people to ask, would you have me for rotation? Because part-time also, they have a number of students capacity they can take. And it will be so not fair on your part to rotate a lab that is not a potential destination. Because some people had to rotate 5 labs, and at the end of it, all of them are just having them for rotation and not wanting to have a grad student join the lab.
So like rotating for interest and rotating for the culture.
For the culture, both. both. If you're smart, you do for both. So if you just want to rotate for interest, I like the lab, but the lab is like, okay, just because the rotation is just for 4 weeks, if I'm still correct. So that means you just wasted, fine, not a waste, because you learn one or two things. But if the lab won't have you at the end, that means they have reduced your chance by 1 out of 5. So, and if you are so unlucky and all of the 4 you rotated are like, oh, sorry, we just thought you just love our faces and you just want to know what is going on in our labs. But essentially, we are not recruiting grad students now. And, your curriculum is planned. If everybody is to finish rotation after some weeks, and you have to take more time to rotate extra labs, you are putting that burden on yourself. The program won't pause to have you do that while others move forward and are already in labs, are settling in already, preparing to write the same exams as you. So you want to, first of all, when you walk up to an advisor, you want to ask them, okay, are you like a recruiting student at this time? If the answer is yes, then that is when you ask the question, would you have me for rotation? Even some of them will have to set up Zoom and want to see your past experience in the field. Like, okay, what have you done? To see if any of the new experience you're going to be exposed to will help you in any way. Then to also see what is your interest. Why are you interested in a lab? Then you should also be able to ask them questions. I have enough questions, but you should be very bold to ask them, do you have funding? Because not having funding in the lab might, because in the United States, that means you might have to be a teaching assistant all through the 5 years, which is a lot. Because that means you have to be a student taking courses, you have to be a student assistant teacher teaching courses to undergraduate students. You have to be a researcher at the same time. So if you can have a lab that, okay, maybe have funding, that means the energy you are using to add to the lab, you're also using it on your research work, which makes it a bit easier. So all of these were some of the considerations, so to speak.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, you have already answered one of the questions I would have loved to ask. Like, I wanted to ask if you choose your advisor before you started your program, but from the culture of your department, I discovered that it does not matter if you have reached out to a professor prior to the start of your program. What matter is the culture of the program, which is rotating through 5 different laboratories. So now we have 3 things: funding, rotating for culture, and rotating for interest. So to balance all these 3, it is important to ask questions. So one of those things I want to stress from what you said so far, they should have good intention of rotating through a lab. It shouldn't just be for the culture, but for the interest, with the potential of joining the lab permanently for their PhD program. You actually started off with some very important nuggets. Thank you so much, man. So one of those, I mean, I have another question here. I want to believe joining the grad school, you would definitely have some criteria in mind regarding the type of laboratory you would love to join. So the first question to you is, what are the criteria you had in mind before joining? Now, why in the program, at the start of your program, did your criteria change at any point in time? And now that you are already in a particular laboratory, so if you are to advise someone on the type of criteria they should consider, would you say that your criteria still remain? So let's start from the first question. So what are the criteria you had in mind before joining the program?
Sincerely, before joining the program, the first thing I wanted to look at, is this person good at what he's doing? Then is this the kind of research I want to do? Is this kind of science I want to do? Because if it's not the kind of science you want to do, that's going to be a lot of struggle. So that was like the first thing I was looking. I was looking at an expert in this field of study that aligned to my research interests. Another thing I looked up to was compatibility and communication. I was very interested in someone that would I don't want to start doing cross of Jesus before entering the lab. Though in the United States, all of those are not. But in some labs, to not kidding you not, as liberal as the United States is, there's still some grad students that have that. You want to go to your advisor place, you go and fast first for 20 days. Then you are doing, how is he going to be in a good mood? No. No. I wanted an advisor that can stop at the staircase and start discussing my research, and he won't like, let me get to the lab now. Somebody that, yes, with a good rapport and a compatibility in terms of that has your interest at art, then somebody with good reputation at least and a good track record of seeing students to the finish line. I was also very key on diversity. My PI is one of the diversity committee person, and is very, very big on diversity. My lab had Americans, they've had Indians in the past, and they finish in 5 years. So yeah, that was also very key to me. I want somebody that gets people to the finish line in the shortest time they want to be. If you want to finish in 5 years, is ready to release you. There are labs, if you look around, you see students there 8 years. But it might not be, sometimes it's on the student too, but sometimes maybe a bit of the lab culture too. So you want a lab that's a compatibility and good communication, then good repetition and track record of
So
always getting people to do.
I would just like to take you through some of those important points you've mentioned so that people out there can take note of that. The first thing you talked about
Okay.
was research alignment, interest. You were so big on interest. Coming to
Right.
starting your program, you were so big on interest. Joining a particular lab that aligns with your interest. And again, you talked about compatibility. You talk about reputation. Reputation in science is the person big enough to accommodate your dream about science. And again, you talk about reputation in terms of whether or not the lab has graduated students in the past. So you talk about
Right.
diversity. I mean, diversity is one of those things. In equity and inclusion is one of those big things currently in the US. So you want to see how diverse the people in the lab have been in the past. Is it just centered on a particular race of people or tribe of people? So you consider importance, the perspective of a particular lab towards diversity. And again, you also talk about track record in all
Yes.
these areas. So whether or not the lab has good track record of student finishing on time compared to their cohorts. So these are the very important points you have mentioned so far. Thank you
Right.
so much on that. They are really good points. And again, we are still digging deep into that same question. When you got here, when you started your program, would you say this changed at any point in time? Did you have a change in criteria, especially when you were rotating through different laboratories you had in mind?
Well, it didn't actually really change, actually, because all of this, I end up finding even more reason why I should join.
That's so interesting. I was initially going to ask how much closer did you get to your desired lab, but based on your experience, especially your interest in solving diseases or trying to get close to the end users with your research, I can tell that indeed you really get so close. So sure you get so close with your desired. So now at this point, I just want us to talk about the advisor-student relationship. Do you think this should override student interest? For the purpose of people that will be watching this video, maybe I should just elaborate and expatiate more on the question. So what I do mean by that is a student has an interest, like starting off a program with a particular lab, with a particular research interest. Now you have the concept of student mentor or advisor student relationship. So you can have advisor student relationship that is that is excellent and not too good advisor student relationship, right? And again, you have people that have a particular interest in a particular research. So getting to choose between good advisor and good research interests. Which will you consider first? You know, a lot of time people find themselves in situations where they have good advisors, but the research interest of the advisor is not something they want to do. But they have rotated in that lab for the purpose of culture. Now you've rotated in
Hmm.
another lab, you had interest in the lab, in what they do in the lab. But again, you are not pleased with the type of relationship you think you would eventually get with this
Hmm.
advisor. So which come first? What do you think the student should prioritize? The interest
Hmm.
or the advisor student relationship?
I'll be as practicably as possible. PhD for me is 90% relationship and maybe 10% research, because essentially there's no science we are trying to do in PhD. To be candid, if you have done a master's and a bachelor's degree that you have not done before, the only thing we are coming here to do as PhD students is to learn how to do science. How do I ask questions? Okay, what method do I use to answer my questions? What conclusions do I draw after doing that research? That is all we are here for 5 years, 6 years. I want to remind you where I started from. PhD is 90% relationship. Trust me, if I'm to choose between relationship and research interest, currently, I'm just going to third year, I'll choose good relationship first. Because it's even the relationship that will nurture the research interest at the end of the day. Imagine, I said, as bad as it is, there are labs that has very, very bad relationship whereby you can't go straight to your PI. Yes, yes, can I help you? What of that result? A lab that pressure you for results, not minding how you cook them. That is not what you're here to do, right? You want a lab that, yeah, processes can be slow, take your time. Oh, one of that thing I asked you to do, I'm still working on it. Your PI should respect that. It's not as if it should leave you to become very lazy, but you should respect when you want to do your own science, take your time and get back.
Understand the
Not putting
process.
pressure. Yes, not putting pressure on you because it's a PhD. Why is PhD so long? Why is it that we're able to achieve a project for masters in 6 months? Just graduating here, they give you a project and you came out with results regardless. And this one is like they're giving you all 5 to 6, 7 years for you to solve just one problem. So that means they realize they want you to pass through that process, do your science, do your advisor science, and come up with something that will be beneficial to the end user. So I'll say prioritize good relationship first.
Wow, that's interesting.
Mm.
That's
Right.
interesting. Because relationship is important for the progress majorly.
Right.
That's interesting. So I think there is a
Mm.
follow-up question on that,
Mm.
which is how do you, especially for students that are still battling interest and relationship. So,
Hmm.
and again, so to follow more on the relationship is to talk about the environment. And I will expatiate more. There are labs where your success is just your success. There are labs that you'll be assigned to a particular work,
Hmm.
and that work is just a portion of a bigger work. So everybody
Hmm.
hands, and at the end of the day, you get the merits for what you have done in the context of works that have been done, right? So whereas you have in some other lab, the culture is your success is just your success. You face it all alone, and if it takes years before you get it done, your success is your success, right? So
Hmm.
that is variations you can have with environment, and that is just to follow more on getting a good mentor student relationship. So now you have a good mentor student relationship. Now you are left with the environment where you have
Toxic.
assistant research professors,
Hmm.
postdocs, research scientists,
Hmm.
other PhD students that are senior colleagues, your colleagues, or maybe junior PhD students and undergrad students, right? So
Mhm.
having all of these people forming your environment,
Hmm.
what do you see? How do you advise a student balancing this interest with their environment?
Hmm. I'll first say no one succeeds in a toxic environment, no matter how good you are. Imagine being in an environment where you carry water. They said, this is not how to carry water. Yeah, you try to measure water using a simple measuring cylinder and somebody is coming to cross check. Is that black or brown lady doing the right thing? Yeah, they can. actually contribute and show you how to do it, but not in a demeaning way to bring you down. So a supportive and collaborative environment with opportunity for intellectual exchange can greatly enhance your PhD experience. So,
Thank you so much. These are, I just thought of these questions as thoughts leading questions. These are questions that we lead to reactions that we, educate people out there, especially people that will be resuming for their PhD programs in no time. So we are almost getting to the end of our discussion, and I have two questions before um, we round it up in this episode. So, how soon do you suggest students should start looking for advisors?
immediately you get your admission. It's good to come prepared. Imagine a student that already have a list of PIs in the department, even before the person landed in the United States, knows their research interest. And the next Monday, when the student finds himself in the lab, he's already knocking. Like, hey, I'm new. I would love to rotate in your lab. And here is first come, first serve sometimes. So a student, I already gave somebody my word. I only want 2 students rotate in my lab. I already gave the 2 students my word. And you are just coming in, just trying to search, okay, what is this person doing? You want to be on top of your game. And mind you, not every school have a culture as ours. Some schools, it is who you choose. Some you even have to have the word of the advisor before coming down.
Before you can
Except if the
even
case when
admission.
before coming down, yes. So it's that person that will like, okay, I have space for you. Come. I know of Alabama. You have to have University of Alabama, you have to have commitment of a person, a lab you're coming in to join, except if you come in and notice, oh, this is not what I presumed I was coming to meet, and you want to change your mind. So as soon as you get your admission and you decide that I'm coming to this university, the first thing I advise students, go on LinkedIn, connect to people. There's not possible you're just going to be the only person and the first person to ever go to that department. Many people have contacted me and I'm able to give them that head up and like, okay, this is what you expect. A good student take that words and string into action. Start working on, okay, you have to rotate. You don't have to wait till when the department say, okay, now you can go start knocking the doors of your PI and getting their consents for rotation. As soon as you get your admission, look up in fact, sometimes I'll say even before you write your personal statement, you want to see the kind of science that in the department. Imagine if you're interested in cancer and you're coming to a department where no one does cancer research. And tell me, and you applied to this school, apply to this program, what are you coming to? So, in fact, it's best when you're trying to look for admission.
It's best to start
Yes.
looking to choose an advisor from the points of your application.
Yes.
Wow, that is interesting. That is interesting. I mean, it's so wonderful with you. The last question is, what other advice do you have for?
Wow. Our advice based on something that have been propelling me since this year started. And that's essentially, I noticed the PhD journey is essentially you're learning from doing it yourself. Yeah, it's a stage where you don't just, you stop dreaming. I even had to get a mark that had stop dreaming, start doing. Meaning your dreams are valid and dreams are actually made by doing. So you start by reaching out. You want to be in the United States, start by reaching out to professors. You start by writing that personal statement. You start by putting in the application. That is how the dream starts. And when you are finally in, you achieve the dream more by doing. You learn from doing. So you don't just, oh, I don't know how to do it. Nobody knows how to do it the first time. So you keep doing it until you become a master in it. And a popular saying says, there's nothing you want to do well that you don't have to first learn to do diligently. So it is when you learn to do it diligently that you learn to do it well. And when you learn to do it well, it becomes a fortune to you. So keep learning from doing. Your dreams are valid and dreams are made by doing.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Mrs. Olorunfemi, for your time,
Thank you,
uh,
sir.
for sharing your experience about how to choose a laboratory. Thank you so much. It's been so, so wonderful with you. Once again,
Thank
my
you,
name is
sir.
Olamide Olaoba. I'm your grad school advisor. If you have enjoyed this video so far, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you are yet to do so. Hit the notification bell and you'll be notified each time we release new video. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.